Welcome one and all to another Overrated review. I am Bradley Overrated, and this is for, if you're new here, the most casual approach of reviews you'll ever get. I show some gameplay and I just talk about my thoughts and impressions, and then I give a letter grade, so welcome. And yes, I am doing God of War. I am very excited though to be doing this because this game just won Game of the Year. I meant to do a review of it back when it came out and I first played it, but I got too caught up playing a bunch of other games and a lot of other things on my YouTube channel. But you know, now that I have some downtime since I'm moving and I don't have a lot of content I'm working on, this is my chance to get this game in, so let's discuss it. And the first thing you have to discuss is the change of pace. If you've played the first 3 God of Wars, and I think there were some spin-offs, I never got to the spin-offs, but if you played them, there's definitely a change of pace in the approach, and it's a lot slower, but I do think it's for the better. Now, your boss fights in this game are still fantastic as always, and the action is excellent. The combat's still invigorating, it's still challenging, I really enjoy it. So I think the pacing in the game is for the better because they chose to focus more on narrative versus just over-the-top ridiculous action. And I know that might be a turnoff for some of the previous God of War fans, but I'm telling you, give this game a shot because I found it to be a lot more engaging and better as a whole. So the story goes that Kratos' wife passed away, but before they passed away, Kratos got busy, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, he had a kid, and his kid is named Atreus, and he's actually kind of cool, but we'll get into that in a little bit later. And his wife's dying wish was for those two to take her ashes up a mountain, basically, and that's it. It doesn't sound like much of a plot until a guy shows up at the doorstep and wants to kill Kratos, and you go, what? And it immediately hooks you in, and then you start to realize why, you know, down the road, why he showed up, what's going on, and it's just surprisingly what one simple small task now becomes this gigantic colossal adventure for Kratos and Atreus. I mean, it is just bizarre, but it's awesome. And look, I don't want to spoil anything, alright? I'm not that type of guy, but suffice it to say, the story is good, and what makes it good is the character development as the story progresses. Kratos, for starters, isn't just a rage-induced hormonal dude. He actually has feelings, guys. He's gotten in touch with his feminine side. He has vulnerability, and you know what? It makes him a much more intriguing character than compared to the past games. It's nice to see him have different emotions, to be confused and to be worried and to actually have some genuine fear as his son, time and time again, gets thrown in the midst of these extremely rough battles, and you know, he has someone that he cares about now. It's wonderful! Good for you, Kratos! Now let's talk about Kratos' son Atreus, and right off the bat, Atreus is more than just a narrative sidekick type of guy that helps progress the story along. He's actually useful! Yes! Something that some characters, you know, like Navi from The Legend of Zelda, yeah, you're not very useful at all. But Atreus, on the other hand, is probably the most useful sidekick to a game I have ever played. For starters, in puzzles, if you're stuck, he'll usually give you a hint, and it's surprisingly, at least about 75% of the time, a useful hint. He'll remind you what you're supposed to do, or he'll see something that maybe you didn't see. It's fantastic. And then on the combat side, he became my shield in some cases, okay? As you level him up in this game, because you can level up both characters, Atreus becomes very useful. He can fight opponents, distract them away from Kratos, so Kratos can do special moves against him or get behind him. And most importantly, he'll get abilities that can really save you, like he can find health items in the ground and throw them at you and heal you while you're getting the crap kicked out of you. Thank you, Atreus. He had saved me so many times in this game. I love that boy. Speaking of boy is the quote of 2018, guys. Yeah! Now, the combat is the point of controversy. Some people really enjoyed it, and other people thought it wasn't that great. I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was fantastic. Now, in the combat, you have your close-up personal attacks, you have basically heavy attacks, and you have Thor's ability to throw your axe around like it's a giant hammer. It's fantastic, and for the most part, you can get away with throwing your hammer around left and right. As you weaken certain opponents, you can get specialized kills on them. It's really fun, really engaging, but here's the problem that people had with it, was that you didn't actually have to use the progression. in combat. There's a progression tree, essentially skill sets that you can learn to do different abilities, and a lot of people argued that those abilities weren't very useful, that you didn't need them. The only thing you needed to do was basically do your light attack or your heavy attack that you have from the beginning, or just throw the axe around. And you know what? They're not wrong. If you don't want to use all the skill sets that Kratos has at his disposal, you don't have to. But I don't find that as a weakness for the game. I don't have a criticism against that on the game. And the reason being is, as I unlocked, Kratos's and Atreus's skill sets, I found them more useful on certain enemies. Not every single enemy can be defeated by a light attack or a heavy attack or just throwing the axe around. And having these different abilities actually made my life a little bit easier, especially towards the end of the game when the enemies became a lot more diverse and unique and challenging. So it's a give and take. While you can just get away with doing a simple light, heavy attack and throwing your axe away, what I found to be the best method was to learn the skill sets and then use certain particular skills against certain types of enemies, because I found them to be more useful. I don't have a problem with the combat. I think the combat is absolutely fantastic, that it gives you the option to be as complex as you want or as simple as you want. That is not a weakness to me, that is a strength. So I do have one big criticism of this game, and it has to do towards the end game. And don't worry, no spoilers here, no spoilers, I'm not that type of guy. But you unlocked lots of regions, and the biggest and most unique thing about this game is, while all the other games focused on Greek mythology, this one focuses on Norse mythology. And it's really cool to see all these new characters from the Norse mythology realm, like Odin, for example, and Thor. But there is one thing about the regions that bugged me, and that was the fact that I could tell there were some that were intentionally left out that you cannot explore. And like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it clearly says DLC on there or sequel. And I wish those were included, because when I finished God of War, all I wanted was more God of War, because this game is fantastic. Now let's give this game a letter grade, and obviously if you know how I do this, you're already up to speed, but for those of you that are new here, here's how I do it. I put on my critical boots, I put on the shoes of if I was a critic, and then I put on the shoes if I'm just a gamer, just a casual gamer, someone who just played the game. How much did I enjoy it? And I combine them. I take both of those scores that I would give them, and that gives me the letter grade. A being the best, F being the worst. And I gotta tell you right now, God of War, when I look at its gameplay, the puzzles, the character development, the graphics, the soundtrack, all of it, it's a beautiful game. It, of course, gets an A. And it gets an A because I couldn't really fault it for anything. Gameplay, solid, puzzles, great, graphics, great, soundtrack, great, great, great. The game's just great, guys. Pick it up. It's worth 60 bucks, alright? It's worth 80. I'm gonna tell you that right now. The game's worth $80. If they charged 80 for it and I bought this game, I would be satisfied. So do yourself a favor. Go pick up God of War right now if you have a PS4. It is probably the best game I've played on the PS4 to date. Alright guys, that wraps it up for me. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I am Bradley Overrated. If you enjoyed my review, be sure to leave a like. Comment down below if you want me to review another game. I'm always open to suggestions, because I love playing games and I do want to get you guys involved a little bit more. All 63 subscribers at the time of recording this. I love all of you. Really, I do. You're beautiful. And I'll see you guys on the next video that I do. I am out like a trout, guys. Have a great day. And boy, this game was great.